Welcome to the Essentials of Inorganic Chemistry. I am your friend Dr. V.D. Bhatt, and presently I am discussing a chapter on symmetry. This is the third talk in the series, and today we are going to discuss a topic: improper rotation, also known as rotation reflection. Friends, there is a small request to all of you that before attending this third talk, which is about an advanced topic in symmetry, you must attend the first and second talk in the series, which are already available on the channel as the video. First of all, we will take the definition of an operation called improper rotation. Friends, improper rotation is a combination operation. It is combination of a rotation operation and a reflection operation. So, a rotation by 360 upon n degree about an axis, which is followed by a reflection in a plane which is perpendicular to the axis of rotation, that is sigma h, is called improper rotation or rotation reflection. The axis around which the rotation is carried out in this operation is called rotation reflection axis, and the symbol given to this axis is Sn. Now, Sn is a combination operation. You perform a rotation and then you perform a reflection. So, Sn in general can be equated as Cn multiplied by sigma h. Say for example, if you are performing the rotation about C3 axis, then it will be C3 multiplied by sigma h. Here you will see that Cn multiplied by sigma h is equal to sigma h multiplied by Cn, which means that the sequence of performance of the operations does not affect the net result. Whether you perform the rotation first or reflection first, the final result is going to be same. Then one more feature: when the value of n is even, like 2, 4, 6, etc., then you will see that Sn raised to n is equal to Cn raised to n multiplied by sigma h raised to n. Now, while studying the rotation operation, we have already seen that Cn raised to n is equal to E. Irrespective of whether n is even or odd. For example, C2 square or C2 raised to 2 is always equal to E. Check the water molecule. In the same way, C3 cube is always equal to E. Check the ammonia molecule. In the same way, C6 raised to 6 is equal to E. If you perform the C6 operation 6 times, then you will come back to the original appearance with the original number of the atoms. So, in general, you will be able to say that Cn raised to n is always equal to E. Now, sigma h raised to n. While discussing the reflection operation, I already pointed out that if you perform a reflection twice, that is, if you take an object and reflect it through a plane, and then again you reflect the resultant appearance through the same plane, then you will get the original appearance. The appearance you started with. So here the value of the superscript n is important. See, if you perform reflection once, then you may or may not get the same appearance. If you perform the reflection twice, then you will definitely get the same appearance. If you perform the reflection 3 times, then again you may or may not get the same appearance. Means that performing a reflection operation in even number always gives the original appearance. So what happens? We are taking a condition over here that if the value of n is even, then Sn raised to n is equal to Cn raised to n multiplied by sigma h raised to n. Now we have seen that Cn raised to n is always equal to E, and this sigma h raised to n comes out to be equal to E when n is even. So here we are taking the case of n is even. Therefore, Cn raised to n multiplied by sigma h raised to n is going to be equal to E multiplied by E, and E is identity operation. The identity multiplied by identity always gives the identity only. So this means that n-fold repetition of improper rotation returns the molecule to its initial position if the value of n is even. Now let us see what happens if the value of n is odd. When n is odd, then again the general formula for Sn. So Sn raised to n is equal to Cn raised to n multiplied by sigma h raised to n. We have already seen that irrespective whether the value of n is even or odd, Cn raised to n is always equal to E. But reflection sigma h does not necessarily give the same result upon odd number of reflections. Therefore, this multiplication becomes equal to E multiplied by sigma h, that is equal to sigma h, because E is the identity operation. So this now means that n-fold or n times repetition of improper rotation is equivalent to a simple reflection in a plane perpendicular to the axis around which you are rotating. This comes to be true when the value of n is odd. So that was something about the important features of rotation reflection. Now in order to understand this improper rotation or rotation reflection, I am going to give you an example of an inorganic polymer. This is a phosphazine polymer. This is a trimer of dichlorophosphazine, that is PnCl2, and the shape of this molecule is hexagonal. Here you can see that just like benzene, the phosphorus and nitrogen atoms are arranged in a hexagonal plane. The phosphorus and nitrogen atoms are arranged alternately, and you will also see that the 3 phosphorus atoms make a triangle. In the same way, you could also have seen that the 3 nitrogen atoms can also make an equilateral triangle. Whereas when you focus on this phosphorus atom, you will see that the phosphorus is tetrahedral, that is all the angles, whether ClAPN or CLDPN, these are all 109.5 degree. Therefore what will happen? This CLA will come outside the plane and this CLD will go behind the plane, whereas the 2 PN bonds are in the plane of the hexagon. Similar situation will be there with your second phosphorus atom, and the same situation over here also. Now I will show you picture of some operations carried out on our PnCl3, rather the trimer of the PnCl2. Now see, the first thing needs to be done is to identify the axis. So the axis coming outside of the plane and inside is your axis of rotation, and this axis of rotation is going to be C3, means 120 degree. So if you perform a C3 rotation along the axis passing through the center of the molecule and perpendicular to the plane of the hexagon, then you will see that this phosphorus atom will move and at an angle of 120 will come over here, whereas this phosphorus atom will come over here. And when this phosphorus atom comes, it will also take along its chlorine atoms also. So just see the result of this C3 operation. What happens? In the original one, you had Cl at the top phosphorus atom, and Clc was on the left hand side bottom phosphorus atom. But upon rotation, the Clc has now come over at the position of Cla, whereas the Cla has moved to the bottom right phosphorus atom. So that is your C3 rotation. Now we are performing an S3 rotation, improper rotation. So first we have performed the rotation. Now we will perform sigma h. Sigma h is a plane perpendicular to the C3, the axis of rotation. Your axis of rotation was passing through the center of this hexagonal plane, coming outside and going inside. So the perpendicular plane is the hexagonal plane itself. So now we reflect the molecule in the hexagonal plane. So what happens? The elements in the hexagon will remain on their position only, but the positions of the chlorine atoms on the same phosphorus atom will be interchanged. So what you will see is, see in the here you have Clc coming outside and Clf going inside, but upon performance of sigma h, the Clf will come outside and Clc will go inside. In the same way, the positions of the Clb and E will be interchanged and Cla and D will be interchanged. So that is our result of performing S3 operation on the trimer of your dichlorophosphazine. And you will see that after the S3 operation, the appearance of the molecule remains same as that of the original one. So from the above figure, it is seen that PnCl2 thrice has a S3 symmetry. This threefold axis of rotation is perpendicular to the equilateral triangle that I have shown you in the earlier figure, obtained by joining three phosphorus atoms. The two chlorine atoms bound to each phosphorus atoms are above and below the plane of the triangle, that also we have discussed. Now a rotation of 120 degree followed by, that is C3, followed by reflection in the plane perpendicular to the axis, that is the hexagonal plane, changes the position of Cla to Cle. Just check the figure once again, I will show you. Cla has moved to Cle. See, originally Cla was over here and Cle was over here, but at the end of the operation you will see that Cla has occupied the position which was originally occupied by Cle. And in the same way you can check that Clb will go to Clf and Clc will go to Cld. Let us see the improper rotation operation using our 3D videos. Here what I have done is, I have divided the window into two parts, and in both the parts I have presented the same molecule, and the molecule, you know, it is the cyclic trimer of your inorganic polymer phosphazine PnCl2. So let us first focus on the left hand part. In this left hand figure, I will be keeping it as a reference so that you can compare, because after performing an operation you have to compare it with the original appearance, and therefore I have done this. So this is your PnCl2 molecule. Then I will show it to you by some other angle. See, the phosphorus nitrogen atoms, they make a hexagonal ring, and then you see that the chlorine atoms, they are inside and outside the plane, because I have already told you that the phosphorus is tetrahedral. Now where is our C3 axis? Our C3 axis is the axis labeled Z, which is passing through the center, and you can see it here. So for performing the improper rotation, what I will do is, I will first rotate this molecule by an angle of 120. So I am again arranging the molecule in the same configuration first, and I will perform the operation on the molecule I have put on the right hand side. Over here I will perform the operation. You can see that the nitrogen atom number 5 is in front in both the cases. Here also you have P6. Okay, I will have to change a little bit, otherwise there will be some problem. As such, you know that nitrogen is nitrogen, but since we have numbered them, I will have to do like this. And once again, I will have to rotate it a little bit so that both the configurations become identical. So now you can check, the arrangements are same. Should I magnify it a little bit? Yes, I have magnified it. Now just check. In the figure on the left hand side, you have C16, C17 and C12. Here also 16, 17 and 12. And then you can see P4, N5, P6, P4, N5, P6. And then at the bottom C10, C18, rather Cl18 and then Cl8 and then 18. Here Cl10, Cl8 and Cl18. Now I have to perform improper rotation. So I will first rotate it at an angle of 120 degree. So what happens when I rotate it at an angle of 120 degree? The N1 will occupy the position of the N5, and otherwise you will see that the appearance remains same. Don't bother about the numbers that we have given, because in actual molecules there are no numbers. In actual molecule, phosphorus is phosphorus, nitrogen is nitrogen, chlorine is chlorine. But since we are performing some operations in order to check that which atom has gone where, we have given the numbers. For the symmetry purpose, what you have to do is, you have to check only the appearance. The appearance should remain same, and you will see that the appearance is same in both left and right figures. So we have performed the C3 operation. After that, we have to perform the sigma H. Sigma H means reflection through this plane, XY plane. So I am now reflecting this molecule through this XY plane, and there you will see that the positions of the chlorine atoms will be interchanged. Upon reflection, the C12 will come to C18 and C18 will come to C12. The same thing will happen to these two chlorine atoms, and same thing to this. Whereas the phosphorus and the nitrogen atoms will remain there only. So see, I am performing this. Here I am reflecting through XY plane. So see, the positions are now interchanged. Even though the positions are interchanged, the appearance has remained same. You can see again that the left hand side and the right hand side, both the pictures have the same appearance. If you are not sure, what I will do is I will tilt it a little bit. See, I am showing it like this now. The same thing I will do over here, and see, they look the same. So that is your S3 operation performed on phosphazine. Now we had some mathematical relation. Let us check it. I will show it here. See, it is said that S3 square is equal to S3 into S3. That is okay. S3 square is equal to S3 into S3. That is just an explanation, but that is also equal to C3 square. Now, in order to check the validity of this relation, you can perform the relation and check, but otherwise for an experienced person will not do it. An experienced person, what will do is, will simplify it mathematically only. I will extend this argument. S3 square is equal to S3 into S3, but S3 is equal to C3 into sigma h. So S3 square is equal to C3 into sigma h multiplied by again C3 into sigma h. So that is equal to C3 square multiplied by sigma h square. Sigma h square is double reflection, and we know that sigma h square is always equal to identity. So you have now C3 square multiplied by identity, that is E. So that is, identity is like number 1. So that again comes to C3 square only. So that is how you get this relation. Now what you can do is, you can check these 3-4 relations. Now let us consider one more operation. This is called inversion. Inversion is a special type of improper rotation or rotation reflection operation. In an improper rotation, we do not specify the degree of rotation. We say it can be 360 by n. It can be 60 degree, it can be 90 degree, it can be whatever. But when you talk about inversion, the rotation angle is 180 degree. So a rotation by 180 degree about an axis followed by a reflection in a plane perpendicular to the axis of rotation, that is again sigma h, is called inversion. So inversion is a special type of improper rotation. Now again, the symbol for inversion operation is I, and mathematically I is equal to S2, because S2 is about C2, that is C2 is about 180 degree. So I is equal to S2 is equal to C2 multiplied by sigma h. Now in order to understand this inversion operation, we will be taking 2 examples. The examples are cis and trans isomers of 1,2-dichloroethylene. So you have ethylene, C double bond C, and then you have 2 chlorine atoms and the remaining 2 hydrogen atoms. Now here you see that the 2 chlorine atoms are at the opposite sides, whereas in this case you will see that the 2 chlorine atoms are on the same side. Therefore this one on the left hand side is your trans isomer, whereas on the right hand side you have the cis isomer. Now what happens? First you have to perform a rotation of 180 degree, and this is your axis. So you are rotating like this. So what will happen? H will go this side and Cl will come this side. The same thing will happen to here also. And then you have to perform a reflection through a plane which is perpendicular to the axis. So what happens? This entire set will go downside and this entire set will come upside. The same operation has to be performed over here also. I am going to show it to you using the 3D videos. Before that, we will have some discussion on the inversion operation. Now, a molecule which is symmetrical with respect to inversion is said to possess a center of symmetry, because basically the inversion operation is around a point, that is the center. From the above figure, if you have already understood, you will be able to make out that the trans isomer has a center of symmetry while the cis isomer does not have. I will explain it to you using our 3D videos. So once again, I have made two windows. The left hand side is for the reference, whereas the right hand side is for the operation. So you can see that both the pictures are initially identical. Now what I will do is, I will perform an operation inversion on your right hand side structure. This is a trans isomer. The two chlorine atoms and the two hydrogen atoms are on opposite sides. So first I will rotate the molecule around this axis. So what happens? Rotation by 180 degree means interchange of the positions of hydrogen and chlorine. This is what will happen. This is my rotation. After rotation, I will reflect through this plane, through a plane which is perpendicular to the axis of rotation, and therefore what will happen? This will happen. Now you will see that even though the chlorine atom labels, that is the numbers, or in general it is very interesting to see that the numbers of all the atoms are different in left hand side and right hand side. All the atoms have changed their positions, but still, if you do not consider the numbers, then the appearances are same. Therefore, you will be able to say that the trans isomer of 1,2-dichloroethylene has a center of symmetry. It is symmetrical to inversion. Now I will take the cis isomer. For that, again we will have two pictures and we will have it like this. First I have to arrange both the pictures in the same way. So I have both the pictures now in the same manner. Left hand side is for reference, right hand side is for operation. The first operation is rotation of 180 degree around this axis, which means that the positions of the chlorine and hydrogen will be interchanged. I am performing the rotation. This is my rotation. After that, I have to perform a reflection. Reflection through a plane perpendicular to the axis of rotation. So I will have to reflect through this plane. So it will become like this. Now you see that both the pictures or both the molecules are not identical. The appearance are different. In the reference, you had the hydrogens on left hand side, whereas in the window where we are performing the operation, the hydrogens are on the right hand side. So this cis isomer is not symmetric to inversion. So friends, I end this session over here, and with this we have covered the different types of operations to be performed while studying the symmetry of different molecules. So in the next lecture we will probably be discussing some other topics which may be related to the symmetry group or point group, etc. Till then, thank you and goodbye.